warmed up for the show. Talk about anything. We can talk with chat. But we should be live now. Hopefully there aren't any connection issues. I'm trying something different, so we are ultra low latency, as low as possible.
Oh, okay. So it should be pretty quick.
So we should be able to, like, if need be, we should be able to interact better with the audience. But we already have Cody in chat. He was here on time before all of us. But how you doing, Cody? Thanks for modding again.
I wish there was a way I could see chat in Discord. That would be cool.
Yeah, I wish there was. I don't have an easy way. I don't even have an easy way for me to view chat and like my OBS stuff at the same time. Encoding overloaded. Blah blah blah. Okay. Literally got on 30 seconds before you. Perfect then. So we are all good. So I think there's still gonna be a slight delay, but I think we should be good. I may have to change some settings, or like the stream latency, depending if the quality is diminished or diminishes at all. But I think we should be okay. Worst case, I'll have like a local recording of it, and I can always just re-upload that one. But so I'll wait till Matt comes back before we do this. Well, I guess it'll still be an interesting topic to talk about as we start the show too. Alright, time to pour myself another drink. I had to try out this tequila beforehand because I was like, man, if this is like not a tequila to sip on and it's just disgusting, I'm gonna be fucking pissed like throughout the entire show. So I tried some and it's pretty smooth. But I also did get some limes and yeah.
Straight.
Yeah.
That's bold.
I have some limes and some Himalayan sea salt to smooth it out in case it gets rough as the night goes, but yeah. Like I thought about it today, I was like, man, the best way to get over a poison is to just slowly inject it into yourself, and you eventually will create immunity to that poison. And I'm hoping that works the same way with alcohol. If not, well then, shit. We are in for a wild ride tonight. No, but it should be good.
Yeah. Alright. I'm letting the world know this is starting soon. Alright, let's find this podcast. Did I start following you? I don't think I started following you on.
I need to. I should mute my phone.
Can I open this in the YouTube app? Oh, it's live. Cool.
Yeah, we are live now. Where is this? Oh, this is pretty good. This is like, I guess it's still about the same. I still have like about like a 30-second delay or so. But not bad, not bad. So for those who are wondering, Matt is currently AFK, but he will be joining us momentarily, to say the least. Hopefully, he'll be back by the time the show starts. But even then, we won't start without him. he just never comes back. It's like 9:40. It's like, do we call for some help for Matt?
Yeah. Did he just ditch? All right, let me go post this picture one more time and let people know it's live.
I like how you put that tag, Cody. Visit W3 schools. You gotta change that, man. I love W3, but maybe we'll get sponsored by them. Yeah, you keep it. Yeah, I don't know how YouTube chat really works. So, Cody, your guess is as good as mine. Are you trying to make like a cool link, a custom text hyperlink? Yeah, it doesn't work in chat. Unfortunate. Oh, I should toggle timestamps. That's what I do need. All right. Pyro Pinoy. How you doing, my man? Shouting out the Dark Tiger.
Yo. Hello.
Oh, I shouldn't sip too much.
All right.
I was already feeling toasty from the tequila, and I was getting anxious. But I guess I always do kind of get anxious about like the podcast. Like when I get home like early and I have nothing to think about but like prepping for the podcast, I have like that nervous energy building up. I'm like, all right, I just want to start the pre-show already and just like get it going.
I was gonna ask, do you guys feel like every time you guys are about to go live, do you guys get nervous?
I wouldn't say nervous, honestly. Like it's kind of just like me being anxious and like excited really to like for like what we're going to talk about, especially since like obviously we know like we kind of have a general mindset as to like where the conversations are going to be going.
Yeah.
So that in itself, like it makes it less nerve-wracking where it's like I don't have to worry about being completely lost as to where, you know, our next jumping point should be.
Sure.
But I think I've gotten pretty comfortable kind of with it, like where I don't really feel nervous. It's always the only thing that's like reoccurring is just like disappointment that like there are times where we just have to like abruptly end. We're just like, all right, well, let's try to close up our last point because our time's run out.
It's too late. We've talked too much.
Yeah. Which like it's good, right? Where it's just like that's how much fun like we're having with like the conversation.
Yeah.
But it's just always unfortunate. We're just like, can't believe the hour's already gone.
Yeah, I feel like that happened last week because it was almost like 10:30, 11 when you guys were ending.
Yeah.
So,
Like I think we started like a little bit late, but even then, I know we definitely went over like 15-20 minutes.
Yeah. That's cool.
Are you nervous? I guess like I try to ask this to the guests too. Are you nervous about it?
I'm not. I've been excited. I've been really excited about this. I think this is more of a conversation. It's like because there's no expectation, like it's a conversation, right? It's not like I'm going up to give a speech or I have to like perform. You know, I don't think I'm nervous. I'm just excited for the conversation. I mean, we talked Wednesday, and that was like a lot of fun. Like we were like, okay, we gotta stop talking.
I was like, wait, we need to stop. Yeah.
So I'm more excited than nervous, which is interesting because I've done a lot of like emceeing, right? I've performed a lot. I've gotten up on stage, given speeches. I just emceed like one of my best friend's weddings in like summer, and like always going up before those performances, it's like I have people to please and I can see them. And I guess this is also different because it's just like I'm video chatting two friends that I've known since high school, you know? So there's comfort, I guess.
Yeah, there's like I know I talked about it with a couple people where like when you get absorbed into the conversation, it's literally just like us hanging out. We're just talking about more serious stuff than we would normally, instead of like talking about how we're inting in league and how we're pissed about the meta and shit like that. You know? But like there are times where it even slips my mind that like we're streaming. There are people who are like watching us live, and I always joke, I'm like, we're potentially live in front of thousands upon millions of people.
One day, you know, it's gonna happen. Someone's gonna be like, "Whoa, this is really interesting," and they're gonna just keep sending it to people who keep finding it interesting.
And then we'll be like, guys, I think our YouTube channel's bugged out. It says we have like 10,000 people watching right now.
that must be an error.
Hold on, I gotta shut it down real quick. we're gonna restart the stream. I think something's messed up here. We'll be right back.
Oh man, that'd be the worst.
That'd be so much.
That'd be the funniest mistake ever. Like.
But I think I would definitely be like, I'd just be like, wait, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah.
Like I could definitely like, I'd be cool with it. Like if there's like a steady climb where it's just like, oh, you know, we reach like our double digits, we reach like hundreds, we reach thousands. But if like tonight we got like 10,000, I'd be like, what the fuck's happening?
Yeah. It'd be cool. But yeah, you never know. It's always, you know what it is? I think it's just like one person has to like blow it up for you. Like somehow you guys are talking about something that's relevant to an influencer, right? and then they somehow share it. They're like, oh, this is a cool chat going on right now. That's when things blow up,
True.
right?
Yeah.
Or either that, or people just come and they're like, they find your channel and then they subscribe and share and engage, and then that gets it like bigger and bigger. That's like a slower
Yeah, the
approach.
slow
But I
growth.
think like the viral one that you're talking about, it's always like someone big sees it and they share it, and that's how.
Yeah.
Which is always interesting. It's crazy how I think there's like there's either an article or like a video I watched, which was basically like there's a secret to blowing up, and that's just getting in front of the right person.
Like that's what like I used to think about that when I was doing like short videos. It's like, oh, how do I tailor to like, you know, what's hot right now, what's the new thing. And like there are times where you just never know, right? You kind of just like, there's some people who like, I feel like the people who are chasing that like viral attention end up getting in their heads, and they like, it's almost like they're always like a step behind the trends because they're just trying to follow it, right?
Yeah.
But then like everyone who gets like a viral like hit is kind of just like, it's kind of like caught off guard, right? Because you I feel like they never know, or they're never like intending like, oh yeah, this one's gonna be like a viral hit, right?
Yeah, you always hear that. Like, I had no idea. I actually have a anecdote about a mini viral hit recently for me. So I started TikTok, and it's like, you know, you just make like super short videos, they're all vertical, and one of mine kind of went viral. Like it's like a mini version of viral, right? Like the most views I've ever had are like 1,200, and that's because TikTok will put your stuff in front of people because it's a newer platform. One of my videos got like 8,000 likes and then like 46,000 views.
Holy shit!
And I was like, whoa, this is cool. And it was so weird because like their algorithm's so interesting. Like they haven't officially released what their algorithm is, right? For like posting your content, but they're like, people assume that they put out your thing to like a focus group, and based on like the engagement and likes that focus group gives you, they put it out in front of more people. And if it passes a threshold, then it'll go to even more people. So, and I could kind of see that because it was like, when I first posted it, like it first gets published to just your followers, and then like they engage with it, and then after that it goes into like new people, and so like a few likes and stuff started going in, and then all of a sudden my phone just kept buzzing, and I was like, whoa, I think it worked.
Damn, that's fucking crazy.
You went viral?
On TikTok. Mini viral.
Recently?
Yeah, like right after I talked to you guys.
Yes,
I posted a video and it got like 46,000 views.
Was it the one with the helicopter scene?
Yeah, that one.
I saw that on Instagram.
Yeah, I know, because I was proud of that one, and I put it on Instagram, and like I went to sleep and I woke up and like I guess India found it, and
like, Prime India time.
Because it was Prime India time. So like it blew up a little bit, and then like India found it and it blew up more, and then the next day like I guess the rest of America found it, that like brown America. So
yeah,
it was cool.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it was. We were just talking about like how do you go viral. We're like, what if we get like 10K views on this like this podcast today?
All right, we're changing the topic to your TikTok.
Nice. Yeah, so I'm a TikTok influencer. I actually have a lot of brands. No, I wish. One day, it's gonna happen.
We have the famous Dark Tiger on the stream today. I heard recently. Maybe you've seen his video. Mark, play it.
I forgot to put you back on. So there you go.
I just applaud.
Yeah.
All right, cheers, guys. Wow, you drank.
Cheers.
I feel bad because there's this podcast I watch where they talk about TikToks, and they use TikTok as a replacement for a certain derogatory term that we don't use anymore. See, it starts with an R.
Oh. Wait, so they use it as a noun? Like, yo, you TikTok?
You're a TikTok.
You're
You're a TikTok. Because because one of the hosts of the podcast, like, she shows off like her I don't remember what the term is. It's like a collection of like different TikToks.
Like a Tosh.0 sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean they are interesting people, to put it nicely.
Yeah. There are. I mean, it's a lot of high schoolers, so You can only imagine.
Oh, it's even funnier when it's older people. When it's like, no, these guys are like 40. 40, 50.
I feel like TikTok has been around for a while though, but it's like just picking up more steam nowadays.
Yeah, well, so it was Musically before, and
Oh,
then
yeah,
I
yeah,
forget
yeah.
who bought it and then rebranded it, and that rebrand kind of blew it up. Like,
Oh, gotcha.
so
That's why. Cause
there's another app I just heard of. It's called Triller. Have you heard of that?
no.
Like
Yeah, I just heard
Thriller
of it
without the
today.
H?
It's like another TikTok, but with also like some few million like viewers and like who knows how much content and whatnot. But yeah, I think that's like Vine 2.0 is coming out as much as it can.
Ah,
I was
that's
about to
kinda
ask. I
cool.
was like, do you feel like TikTok is like the successor to Vine?
Yeah, I think TikTok, what it did really well that Vine couldn't. Like Vine was cool for like creators and whatnot, but it wasn't great if you weren't great, right? Like
Like
you
hard to
had to put
use.
what?
It was like hard to use.
Like yeah, I mean you had to be really creative or like technical, like to make cool stuff. TikTok
Mm,
made this thing of like, you have music that they've given you and you can like do your dance moves to it. There's like different trends and stuff of like stupid things that are like easy to do, or if you just know like how to use a mirror correctly or like have a friend who can fake something for you. Um, it just made it like I think accessible to the masses so that like anyone can do something cool or funny by following a trend or by like syncing to the music that TikTok provides you. So I think it's like a skill level that they like brought down.
mm. So even you can use it.
Yeah, I can make it blow up, right? Like, wow.
But I mean, he went viral, so
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you didn't need this. Like they lowered the skill thing, but you're already really good, so it just blew you up.
Yeah, it was a little unfair. It's like when you're
Yeah,
playing with like bronze people in league, like
yeah, you're
you're playing with
smurfing.
bronze, but
yeah.
you're in your plat promos. It's like, okay.
And that was my 12th post. Like I was making content in the hopes of getting TikTok viral, right?
Yeah.
So like because you were talking about like, oh, you never really like expect it. Like this was one of those things that I also put on my Instagram because I was like super proud of, and I was like,
Nice.
I literally, and the caption for it on TikTok was, "If this doesn't go viral, dot dot dot." Right? Like
I will.
there was a
kill
little bit of cockiness on this one.
Save this
That's
man's life.
awesome though.
Yeah.
So do you feel like there's pressure now for your next TikTok to
That's
also
why I
be
haven't
really
made
good?
anything. I was making things like day after day, like because this was like a week and a half of me using TikTok. So almost like every day I was putting something out, and now I'm just like, how do I one up myself? Because like
Ooh.
I have
You've set the
150
bar.
followers. Then
Yeah.
no, it's like, oh, these people will for sure see something now. Like before, I didn't know who was watching.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a lot of
That's
weight.
rough.
You should have never gone viral.
Just delete your account.
It's too much
Yeah.
power, man.
But yeah, it's fun though. It's like I think it's like it's a little addictive. I got one of my cousins, my like 16-year-old cousin was like, "Hey, you should get on TikTok. I think you would like it. You're funny enough to like probably make stuff as well." And it wasn't like so I saw her at a wedding and she said you should get on it. And
Yeah.
after that, she like messaged me on Instagram or something. She's, dude, did you get on TikTok yet? And like another cousin that was like around the same age was like, you should get on TikTok. And so I was like, all right, let me download this. And I downloaded it. I was like, wait, this is like cool. This is funny. Oh, I can make something like this. Like I could do this. And then I like made one video and I was like, that was fun. Let me do another. And just like became this thing that was like, oh, this is fun. And then it was suddenly like, wait, this worked. How do I make it better now?
Ooh.
And then like suddenly the fun stopped.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Pressure was on.
Now you're working.
Yeah.
What's how do we follow you on TikTok?
Shishams.
Sheesh.
So it's the same as my Twitter.
All right. I'm in. I gotta download it.
Yeah. I'm too much of an old fogey to get TikTok. I don't want to be a TikTok.
The stuff
do
you
I?
make is pretty funny though. Like I don't like it doesn't resonate to me as much, but I
Yeah.
can like imagine like it's funny to watch anyways, like from a like normal perspective.
Yeah.
Not, you know
Well,
what I
it
mean?
ties in because the stuff I make is super cultural, right? It's for
Yeah.
brown boys or brown girls, I guess as well. It's like it's for Indian people specifically. There's always gonna be something that I'm sure you guys as Asians will also be like, oh, we do that too. Like if I make something, I'm assuming like about maybe like taking our shoes off or whatever. You know, like it's not gonna just be specific to Indians, but there's gonna be other cultures. Like, wait, we do that same thing. I know I saw like I forget what it was. Some Russian person did something. I was like, oh, hey, Indians know this. Like, it's the same.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I like to stay like I like the cultural stuff. I feel like that's my niche. Like, it's like I know this thing and I know it well enough that I can like create content and it's fair for me to do it because I can poke fun at my own culture. But so that's why it's like it's cool. Like, here's what I can do in my style.
Yeah. That's like a really cool niche to go into, and it's like I feel like it's just like looking at your culture in a humorous way, and like I do that perspective a little bit, and it's funny because like once you hit a certain point, even your culture thinks it's funny, and you like kind of grow into it, which is really cool. So like all the Filipino comedians, like all they're doing is making fun of Filipino culture, but all the Filipinos love him, or like love them. Like it kind of it's really interesting how it kind of works.
Because you can relate, right? It's like that feeling of like, wait, you know this exact same thing that I do, and I thought maybe I was like kind of alone in it, or at least like you're calling out something like I've had in the back of my mind but never knew how to talk about, and I like totally get it. Like that resonation, I think is like it's key. You know, I think it's also like what makes you like someone as a person. Like you talk to them and you're like, oh, I agree with this, right? You never go and you're like, wow, I completely disagree with you, but I think you're a great person. I want to be your best friend.
It's like, I don't think that's how best friends start, right? Where you're just like the worst fucking enemies, and you're like, but I appreciate you as a rival.
Do you remember Manu?
Yeah.
So Manu and I, a friend of mine from high school, we started off as enemies, and our like animosity was I didn't think he was brown enough, so Manu's an Indian guy. And I was like, he was like completely uncultured. Like I came from a very like traditional Hindu Indian background.
Before you continue, this is just a 2-minute heads up. If you gotta take a bathroom break, take it now, because after that, when we go live, unfortunately, no bathroom breaks.
All right.
So
Roger.
Just putting that one out there. So I will go ahead and use that, but I'll have my headset on, so feel free to continue.
Cool. Yeah. So I was like a cultured brown boy, and Manu is this like whitewashed Indian dude that like doesn't know the first thing about Indian culture, and I didn't like him for that. And then he goes, "Hey, you don't have an aim," and I was like, "I do," and I was like, he's like, "No, you don't." And so somehow like he just didn't believe that I had an AOL Instant Messenger account, right? Like that was what we fought on, and we like fought for days. Until finally he decided to try and add the screen name I gave him. And then he's like, yo, I don't know why we're fighting. And like, we hated each other. Like we would argue in class. We would like try to one up each other. Like we didn't like each other. We just had a heart to heart over AIM that like, dude, I told you so. He's like, yeah, my bad. I really don't know why we're fighting, but like, let's just put it past us. The next day we like sit next to each other in math class and we're like best friends. So
I remember that arc. I remember that story arc. And I remember reverse story arcs as well, where you started as best friends and then you started hating each other. It's kind of funny how the world works that way.
Yeah, there was a lot of drama in high school.
There was, to be fair. I mean, it is high school. It's kind of expected. Yeah, but I do find that like happens a lot, where like if you start by disliking someone and then you find a common ground afterwards, you feel even more connected with them. Otherwise, I feel like a lot of people I've made friends with, like I'm thinking back to like MapleStory, if you guys ever played that.
Yeah.
But like, there's so many. Oh, it's this old Korean video game. It's like the best thing that's ever been made by man.
I definitely see a lot of people still play it on Twitch.
Okay, I still play it. You got me. Anyways, I feel like a lot of my friends, like it started because like we would be like leveling up in the same area and we'd be kill stealing the crap out of each other. Or like you hate them. And then they like at one point you like break the ground and you say, okay, I'll move on or something, and then you come back and they're still there, and then like something about it, you feel like you're connected to this person that's your enemy. And I feel like I made a lot of friends that way at MapleStory. That was my approach game.
Nice. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna take a 10-second break. I'll be right back.
Oh my goodness, I gave you the 2-minute warning. You should have just gone.
You had to finish the story.
I'm back.
All right.
Oh,
dang,
I thought you went to the bathroom. I was like, holy crap.
Yeah, me too. I was like, dang, that was hella quick.
I stock up on another Sapporo, just have it in the background. So
wait, what are you drinking in your glass?
I poured it into the glass.
Oh,
'cause we all
I
had
didn't look.
glasses?
Ah, I see. I
Did you
see.
feel
Yeah.
obligated to get a glass because we all had a glass?
No, I had this. It was prepared.
Oh, okay. So
I don't remember what it was that I saw. Oh, it was Tokyo Diner. Did you guys watch that on Netflix?
I've watched like 1 or 2 episodes of it.
Yeah, so they pour beer with like two hands into a cup. Usually, it's like the Japanese way, right? And so ever since then, I started doing that. So I like it. I like it better.
yeah, I was gonna ask. I was like, do you just prefer to drink out of the glass instead of like the can itself?
Yeah.
But before we divulge, any last things you guys want to bring up before we actually go live? Just to throw it out there.
No volume, video check, all good.
Man, I hope so. Nobody's complaining in chat.
All
No
right.
one's
I
like,
think we're good.
no one's like, rip ears, rip headphones. All right, let me do. Where is this? Where is this? Where is this? I have to learn to organize all my layers onto the show. I have them all like. I have them just around in miscellaneous places. So like when I have to like go and like do stuff, I have to like scroll through. Just a pain. I'm more unorganized, but things look good. That's all I care about. Okay. So unfortunately, we can't do. I haven't figured out how to do like a break on the stream, so we are just basically gonna go live right now. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Almost Awesome Podcast. We are here today on episode number 25. If you don't know me and Matt already, you are living under a rock. But to reintroduce ourselves, I'm your main host, Mark. Of course, I have with me my co-host, my brother from my mother, Matt, here to guide us on our journey here on the Almost Awesome Podcast. What we try our best to do is try to dive deeper into our conversations, try to have more meaningful talks, more memorable talks that we can all walk away with like a positive feeling, whether that's a little bit more of like your self-identity or even just something to further resonate with and build and form stronger bonds with people that you may not have seen otherwise. But with that, I would like to introduce our special guest today. Oh
wait. Can I do the introduction?
Oh yeah. Sorry.
So Ashish, you're my esteemed guest. I was while we were prepping, I wrote a little bit of stuff about you, Ashish. So in case you guys haven't heard, our guest today is Ashish Yamdagni. Sorry if I mispronounced that. He is a aspiring TikTok influencer under the name Shish Yams. He's the brown boy from Florida. He graduated with his IB diploma, and he is also known as the Darkest of Tigers on League of Legends. Ashish, thank you for coming.
Yeah, no, I'm glad to be here, guys. I'm excited.
Oh my gosh, that intro! I was like, oh my.
Does everyone get a written out intro?
It's a work in progress. I just thought of it today, and we're gonna see if it works out, if it sticks. But yeah, Ashish, thank you so much for coming to the podcast. Really good to have you. For everyone that may or may not know, me and Ashish go way back. We met back in high school, actually, at New York University High School. That was 10 years ago when we first met, and 11 years ago. So we kept in touch every now and then, but now is going to be cool because it's going to be one of the times where we can sit down and really talk about what's going on in our lives, and especially about our culture, which I think is going to be really fun. So to start, Ashish, you helped pick out our wardrobe for this evening. I thought it'd be cool if we kind of all went around and talked about what we're wearing.
Yeah.
If you want to kick us off.
I'll start off. Yeah. So since we were talking about the culture today, I figured we should dress culturally and kind of like bring our homes into this podcast. So I am wearing a kurta. This is like a long, traditional Indian upper like shirt kind of thing. This is a little bit fancier, so you'll see this more at like certain events, prayer ceremonies, weddings, and things like that. But the kurta is also like the plain ones and whatnot are worn every day. You just go outside with like a shirt that's a little bit longer like this. And yeah, it's a traditional Indian garment.
It looks good. Not gonna lie, looks really good. Is that like silk? It looks comfy.
I think it's a mix of silk and cotton, like this one specifically. There's a lot of silk ones.
So I gotta ask, do you wear anything underneath it, other than like boxers, or boxers optional?
No.
I'm wearing a t-shirt just because I'm more comfortable, but like people just wear like wife beaters usually. And then like if you're wearing like a thinner one, like a cotton or something that's like for every day, that's what you put on as like your t-shirt.
Oh, that's cool.
So
There's
that
stuff
shirt
you
is
can
not
put on
necessary.
top as well. So actually, I have it. I'll show you guys.
Yes, give us
Nice.
the full show.
Dang, this is fancy.
So to get a little bit fancier, there's like it's called a jacket, but it's a little bit of a misnomer. It's actually a vest. So you can put like this sort of thing on top, and like it adds like a little bit of a flair to the outfit. Yeah.
Dang.
Cool.
I love me some good vests, man.
Yeah. So and this is like this is like the fashion right now is like you wear the jacket over it, and then like it just adds a layer. I'm not gonna wear it; it's gonna be too hot, but I thought I'd show you guys. Yeah,
that's fresh.
And then the fashion for kurtas also changed, right? So like the designs within, or like the collar design, what the buttons are like, that'll change just as like any other fashion changes in other places. Like it's all dynamic.
Anyway, nice.
That's cool. Like it's still a piece of modern fashion, and people still wear it. Like
yeah. So our runway shows, we'll have kurtas on our runway shows. Like that'll be like our fashion shows will have them. It's pretty cool.
Nice.
That's sick.
Yeah.
Mark, what about you? What are you wearing tonight?
So funny thing, I have experienced this many times where, well, I guess a couple of times. Specifically, there have been times where I had to MC like a Filipino traditional show, and we had to talk about the traditional dress wear. And I was trying to think back. I'm like, man, what did we say about this? I'm like, shit, I don't know. But tonight, I'm wearing a Filipino barong. So to be fair, I was gonna do this, but I'll expose myself because I'm an honest guy, and we're here to have honest conversations. I pulled up the Wikipedia page and I was like, I'll read this, pretending like I really know exactly what I'm talking about. And after you were talking about your culture, Ashish, I'm like, dang, I am whitewashed. I don't know the culture of this shirt. It's a cool shirt. It's see-through. I wear an undershirt underneath. But this traditional Filipino formal wear, we wear it to like mostly special occasions, whether that's like weddings, fancy birthdays, just like even like church events. Church events are usually pretty big in the Philippines. So if you want to look nice, you just wear something like this, where it's a very thin material made out of it was banana leaves, if I remember correctly. Yeah, so it's very thin and like breathable material. So that's why you should wear an undershirt. If you don't wear an undershirt, then the contrast of your tan skin or your golden brown skin is gonna emanate everywhere. If you're into that, then by all means, that could be the new fashion.
Filipino like movie actors, is that like their like romantic entry scene, like
their edge.
Yeah. But yeah, that is what I'm wearing. This one is actually custom made. I believe from what I remember, because the collar is more of like it's like a flat collar as opposed to like a traditional like dress shirt collar that would fold down. From what I was told, it's kind of like a Chinese style for the barongs. Personally, I like it because again, it's just like it looks nice and elegant, but it just feels like less confined. I always feel like when I'm wearing dress shirts, like, and I have the button all the way, like the neck's never like the right measurement. I'm just like trapped in this dress. But with a barong, like it's just like if I could wear barongs at like any formal sort of like event, like if I could go to like a business dinner with a barong, man, I would.
You should try it. See what they say.
But I'll go without undershirt, right? Power move.
That is a power move.
No, this is how they always wear it.
Oh. Imagine you're interviewing somebody and he like comes up like that. Like, do you call him out? Like, I don't even know what I would say. Even if I wasn't Filipino, I'd be completely stunned.
I'd be like, I'd expect you to have an accent if you came like that, right? Like I'd be like, wait, why is your English so good?
Why?
What is going on here?
You know, as a kid, I bought this product called Hooked on Phonics. Let's just say, it got me hooked. But what about you, Matt? What are you wearing
So
tonight?
I am wearing. You know, it's funny since I'm coming from Chicago. I actually didn't have a barong in like there. It's all over there back at home in Wedgefield. So what I'm wearing is actually a kimono, traditional kimono from Japan. Ooh, sorry. But like I went to Japan in February this year, and we all picked up kimonos because they're pretty like what you expect. It's like part of Japanese culture. The history of it is pretty straightforward as far as I know. Like kimono actually used to mean clothing in Japan. Like that's how like standard the kimono was for such a long time. So much so that they had like different styles, like some for winter, some for summer, and they like really worked on making them breathable. This one is cool because it is breathable. Like you can actually like see there's like flaps and stuff, so like the air flows like right through it, which is really cool. And it like really was part of like everyday life in Japan for the longest time. And then I think like as things got modernized, they don't wear them as much, but people still wear them. So it was like something I really wanted to bring back. And it wasn't something that we bought when we first went to Japan. So this was my second trip in Japan, and I was like, yo, I got to get one of these, just at least as a memory. So I brought it with me to bring to the show because I think it looks sick, and it's the only cultural wear that I have in my closet right now. So yeah.
How often do you get to wear it now?
Almost never. I only wear it sometimes, and I wear it as like an outerwear sort of thing. So I'll wear like a hoodie underneath it, and I'll look like a modern Japanese kid.
Nice.
Oh, so you wear the hoodie underneath it, so it's like more
It's like
of like
streetwear at that
an
point.
overwear kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. I wear it more like a streetwear kind of thing, and it's like pretty big on me, so that's kind of the look I go for with this.
True.
Yeah, and I don't feel as bad because like this isn't like I like asked the lady, I was like, is this like a traditional kimono? Like, should I treat this with respect and like go to ceremonies with it? And she's like, no, you should just like wear it
Whenever.
whenever, like when you want to wear it. I was
You
like,
should wear it whenever, you
oh.
American pig.
Yeah. Could you wear it to prom? I guess is the question.
Could I wear it to prom? I could wear it to prom.
Okay.
I don't think everyone could wear it to prom, but that's not a statement on the kimono. It's a statement on the person.
Okay.
But I don't know if that answers your question.
I
No,
digress.
that was perfect.
Okay. Anyways, so enough about attire. Let's get into this. So today we're all here to talk about culture, and you know that's why we're all wearing this. We introduced this thing with the podcast where we try to ask a question beforehand, like on Twitter, on social media, and try to get some audience, like what are their thoughts on whatever topic we're trying to talk about. In the past, we usually did this in the form of polls, but because culture for me is such like an open topic, I couldn't think of a poll that made sense for culture. So I left it pretty generic, and I left it as, "What would you change about your?"
Could you
And
repeat
honestly,
that? Sorry, it cut out a bit for me.
no worries. I asked, "What would you change about your culture?" And I think this is really funny and it's really relevant to this podcast because I only got 2 responses. One of them was you, Ashish, which is pretty funny, and it's ageism, which we'll get to that for sure. And then the other one was from Tati, and Tati had a couple of really cool points about hers. I think one of them ties into ageism, so we'll save that for later. I think the one that really, really resonated with me that Tati mentioned was for her, she's Colombian, and so I'm assuming that they're very religious in nature, like Catholicism. But hers was seeing like elders seeing your success as an opportunity to thank God and not acknowledging your hard work in that success. Which for me, I was like, dang. I didn't always think of it that way, but it is to me like it kind of resonated. like it's the whole idea of like when someone blames like luck for why something went well or something didn't go well. I always felt like it discredits someone. So I thought that was really cool. But I also think that kind of ties into our broader topic, is like culture and changing culture isn't really something that people talk about. I feel like, and I
It's the
couldn't tell
opposite.
it right.
It's the opposite,
Yeah.
right? Where people don't want to change that culture, right? The culture defines them, and that's been passed down through generations and generations, and you know, it defines us as a people, right? It gives us our identity.
Hmm. I thought that was really funny because to me, it, like, is almost like a statement is of like us not talking about it, because I think like all things have to change over time, or like it just doesn't make sense anymore. They get outdated and it becomes archaic and it becomes more negative than positive.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I guess like that kind of transitions to something that I think we talked about before. Um, with our cultures is like, do you guys feel like we don't talk about our culture enough, or the bad things about our culture, the difficult things, just in general?
Yeah. I do. Okay, so I'll get into that one. I just wanted to like the one thought I had about like, oh, thank God for like your hard work, right? I think the better the version that's like more digestible for that is be humble, right? It's like, yes, you worked hard, but also things happened in your life that like led you to this point. And I think it is important as much as it is like I one of my pet peeves is not getting credit for stuff that I deserve credit for. But at the same time, it's like you can't let that get to your head, right? So I think there is a balance there. I wanted to make that like anecdote or like that comment before. Um,
I like that.
but yeah, I think that it's like it's almost a taboo. At least I know in my family, if I mention that like, oh, our culture doesn't do this great, right, or whatever, the conversation is always deflected to point an eye or a finger at like another culture. Well, what about this culture that's doing this, or like this religion that's doing this and this and that? Like, why don't you comment on them? And like for some reason, me saying because I don't know those cultures as well as I know like Hinduism or Indian, like or yeah, I don't know if Indian is a culture. I don't know how to explain. But like like if I say like I know my culture well, and because I belong to it, I have a right to point a finger at things that are wrong, rather than like something else,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's like every time I try to like talk to someone about like, hey, like this is a pretty crappy thing that Indians are doing or that Hindus are doing or whatever. It's always like, well, what about them? You know?
Yeah.
I think it's a weird way to kind of like, it's a weird form of deflection, right? Where it's like, I don't want to address this, but like other people do this too, so why can't we do it? But
Yeah.
even when you start having that mindset, like it's just at some point things just aren't gonna make sense anymore, right? Like even
Yeah.
like stuff like you said, because it's your culture, it's almost as it's like your area of expertise, to be fair. Like if
Yeah.
we're gonna talk about it, something like that, where it's just like like talking about like jobs and stuff. Like
Yeah.
you're not gonna go to a doctor to find out about how to
Data
build an
science.
airplane, right?
Yeah.
Like that's just not gonna make sense. Like there's no reason to compare being a doctor to being like a pilot.
Yeah. Or like if you go to a doctor and you're like, "Hey, you guys are charging way too much for your services." Him being like, "Well, yeah, but you're still paying $300 to get on a flight." Like it's like
It's like
this
Yeah.
isn't.
there's no
Like,
relation, right? It doesn't
yeah,
correlate.
like it's like we're not talking about pilots and airplanes and whatnot. We're talking about medicine here,
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it's like okay, there are different religions or different cultures, so somewhat of the same umbrella, but it's still like very different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like
The-
it's like what we like I kind of mentioned before, where it is kind of a touchy topic, right? Where um culture does define people, right? It gives you a sense of individualism within like the world, I would say. And it's almost there's like a taboo to like break apart from that culture, break those traditions and those rules that we followed because we followed them. And sometimes it's like, why do we follow them? I don't know. That's just what we were taught how to do. That's what our past generation did. So we do it as well. Where I think nowadays, people our age or our generation are more open to the discussion of like questioning things and figuring out why do we do things. Like what's the point? If you can give me a good reason or why we do it, then like I can honor that and respect that. But at the same time, like you said too, Ashish, like if things are outdated or things don't make sense with, the modern age, the modern era, like why do we keep doing it? Why am I going to pass this on to, the next generation of our culture when it no longer makes any sense? And I think that's just hard to like come to terms with. Like things got to change. People change. The days change. Literally the day is constantly changing, right? So you kind of have to adapt and live with the time. Like it's like living in the moment, right? You have to learn to adapt, or you adapt or die.
Die.
Yeah, that's literally it. But I think the thing that really resonates with me with what you said, Mark, is the whole concept of understanding why. Because I think there's things about our culture that you can understand why they are the way they are, and it makes sense. But then there's also things about our culture that I think we have no idea why they exist, and no one seems to know. And if you ask that question, it's like you can't ask that. And then if you like, instead of answering it or saying I don't know, they'd say like, no. Like they'll deflect exactly like what you said, Ashish. And I always remember one that like it's a Filipino thing that my mom told me was like, you're never supposed to give someone shoes for their birthday or like for Christmas as a gift because it means they're gonna walk all over you. And I was like, what? Like why does that? What does that mean?
Wait, is
And
that
then
why I've had the same pair of shoes for like 5 years?
Your mom only thought about it at Christmas. She's like, I can't give it to Mark now. Sorry.
Shit. Maybe I'll give it to him for his birthday. Oh fuck, can't do that either. Maybe next Christmas.
But yeah, it was always one of those things that I was like, what? Why are we doing this? It doesn't make any sense.
Why
and
can't
they can't answer.
their success?
Yeah. But I think it ties into what we've talked about before, Ashish, which is cool, is that like now times are changing so much that we can find out why things are the way they are. Like information is so much at our fingertips now that like we do become more informed, and we have the ability to understand why. We don't have to accept truths because someone told us that they're that way.
Yeah. And I think it also, I mean, like being an American immigrant or like a hyphen immigrant, right? Like I'm an Indian American immigrant, right? You get this like privilege of like self-actualization, whereas like if you're just in that culture, you don't question anything because you like everyone just accepts it, right? There's no room to question it. But when you see another culture, right? Like our parents came here, and the first thing they have to do is survive. They don't get to think about like, oh, what do I want to do? What are my like hobbies? What are my passions? But then like they have kids who grew up in America, and they're like in this like like limbo between two different cultures. They've got like their traditional stuff, and then they've got like an American culture, and that like gives them information that wait, like there is something different in the world, right? And there is like a different idea about or opinion about this thing, or this is kind of weird. Like you wouldn't have questioned something that like, for example, like taking off your shoes at home. Like I don't think anyone in India ever questions that. It's like what you do, right? But you come here and like I'll walk into my American friend's house and I don't do it and I feel weird and I'm like, wait, I didn't realize that people don't take off their shoes in their homes, right? They have like a different view on that. So just like seeing that you're different lets you question it. But I think that like that's what the internet does for everyone now, right? They're like, oh, there are things that people do differently because I can see them in their videos, their like movies, their like opinions on Twitter, whatever. So yeah, I think the information's the key.
I think
The awareness.
I think it's funny because both you and Neil in chat brought up an interesting point where almost like the idea of like being American or like immersing ourselves into like American culture. Like I mean, we live here. It's gonna be hard for us to like separate the way we live to like the American way of life. He brought up an interesting point where, like just being American and living in America, you kind of nitpick pieces of, you know, American culture and adapt it to like your own. And I guess a question I kind of want to ask you guys: do you feel like that's wrong to do?
To like live in America as like a different culture and then nitpick American culture?
Like, I guess, like, do you think that kind of like breaks your culture where you're no longer like Indian, but then that by nitpicking parts of American culture, that's gonna make you Indian American, and then if you pass those, like, you're slowly gonna lose like the Indian culture because you're just now you're more American than you are Indian.
Oh, okay. So by nitpicking, you're saying like picking up pieces,
pulling it into yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I thought you were like criticizing.
No. Sorry.
Yeah. No. I mean, like, I think people who don't assimilate to a culture are doing it wrong, right? Like, if you come into a country and your mindset is that like I'm gonna lose my culture and it's the only right way to live your life, that is a very like closed-minded view, and I think that's wrong, right? And it's like we kind of talked about this a little bit before last week, which was like Indians have this like I guess like they have this like worldview of America as like this land of opportunity, but also this like land of sins, right? Like there's so much evil. Like you want to go to America for like the opportunity, the jobs, the money, but you don't want to go there to become American because American culture is bad, right? It's not like as traditional or as pure. And I think that's like super close-minded of like, dude, like everyone around the world lives in their own way. Like to say that you're the only one doing it right can't be true.
Mm-hmm. I think like what you mentioned, Mark, you mentioned this earlier. It's like the concept of like you have to adapt or like you die, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's so many factors of our culture that have changed over time that maybe we aren't in touch with it anymore. But it's like it's a constantly evolving thing, and I think like Ashish, I love like how you mentioned it. Like it doesn't make sense to go into another world and not change anything about yourself. Like to me, it's like the complete wrong way to approach it. Like, why are you going to even go to another place? Like, just stay in India or stay in the Philippines if you don't want to change anything about it. Like, if that's really the world you want. And even then, those cultures change. Like, the way like information is spread now too is like everything. Like, culture is starting to spread wider than like what's in your country, which is really cool. And I think what it gives us the opportunity to do is like create a more like unified culture of all the best stuff, which I think is amazing. And I think Neil mentioned this in chat, which I think is really cool, is I think food is like a really, really cool example of that. It's like seeing like a mix of two completely different styles of food or like cultures is basically another way to think of it. And like you make something better than the sum of its parts. And I think like it's the same opportunity that we get by, that our parents gave us by bringing us here. And it's completely wrong to not absorb some of it. The best parts, at least, are what we think are the best parts.
And you have traditionalists with food that are like, you can't change this. This is like the Italian way or like the Japanese way. Like, there's I think Ugly Delicious on Netflix. There's an episode where the guys serve a Japanese pizza, and it's like nothing what you would assume a pizza looks like. And there's like, is this a pizza? Like what? Like just because it's served in the same format that's not Japanese, is this a pizza, But it's like, I agree, like it's the sum of its parts, right? You take a little bit like a cooking style of how you would make a pizza and you apply like Japanese ingredients to it, and now you've got something completely new. And like that's the beauty of it. That's growth, right? Like in a person.
Yeah. So sorry, Mark, were you gonna say something?
No, go ahead. I did have a question, but
go. You go.
Because speaking about this kind of got me thinking about it. So like I mentioned before, where it feels like our generation is more open to change, right? We're willing to like question things, like why do we do things? Is there a point to doing this? If there's no reason, then why don't we change it to something that makes more sense? Or even just like adapting your culture and like picking bits of things to try out, to mix, like even like with food, right? With cultural food, you never know like what kind of amazing experience you'll get by combining different cuisines of different cultures. Like why, like I get keeping them individual, but why can't you mix them? Because you could come up with like some amazing meal by mixing them, like the Japanese pizza. Because it's funny, I definitely saw that that episode too. But my question is gonna be in relation to I guess the older generation, for example, like our parents and stuff. Why do you think that? Do you think that because like I guess I'm assuming for all of us, we kind of grew up here in the U.S., right, where our parents immigrated over here to America, and then by us growing up here, we kind of adapted to like, the American lifestyle and the American way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think for our parents' generation, why do you think like there are times where it seems like they're so close-minded about things, about change and stuff? Do you think it's just like a product of like the times that they lived in, the environment, and like not being in like America and the land of the free, and you can think and do whatever you want? Like I guess like what do you think like kind of brings that, like cements that in them, where they it's almost like they're just like, to be fair, it's like they're stubborn about like questioning things or like adapting and changing.
Before we, I guess, get into that, I want to flip the question on you. Do you feel like this is an Asian parent trait? Like, do you feel like white parents are more open to other cultures and adapting and changing their lifestyles than our parents are?
Ooh.
We might not have enough experience in
the diversity. My argument would be I don't think they are. Well, you know, if I now that I think about it more, I would actually try to argue that they probably do. They probably are a little bit more open-minded, because I imagine it from their perspective is they've had so much of an influx of different cultures in where they're from, so America, like.
Yeah.
So many cultures had to come here, and that has to impact them in a way that makes them more open to change than what I imagine in the Philippines, where you don't have people migrating from all over the world to the Philippines. You have Filipinos and, some like one-off things.
Yeah. I'm just thinking from like a basic white girl perspective of like, hey, I'm going to go do yoga. And it's like yoga is a very like started off as like a Hindu meditation exercise sort of regime. Is very Indian, like in its nature, right? It's Hindu and it's Indian in its nature, and it's like blown up in the U.S., right? And it's, I feel like I think that's why, right? Like America has that exposure to every other culture, and it like kind of forces you to be like open-minded about it. And I can definitely think of like a bunch of people. I mean, like Eat, Pray, Love, for example, is a great like movie on this topic. But like I can think of a lot of cases where Americans will go to other places and bring some of that culture back to their homes, right? Whether it's like yoga, whether it's meditation, whether it's even like certain styles of like, oh my God, I found all these spices in India that I didn't even know existed, and now I'm bringing them into like my food, right? But I don't think I've ever heard of like an Indian going to America and be like, oh, I have this great idea, like Americans do this thing so differently, like we should do it here. Other than maybe like toilets, I think those have become westernized in India, which I'm here for, but
that is adapting to survive.
Adapt or die.
So I just, that thought came into my head. I was like, well, we're looking introspectively, and we should, but let's look out first and then come back in. So the question is like, why do we think our parents are stubborn, or in like changing or like even addressing topics? I think it's like they grew up around it. Like that's all they ever knew, right? And I think part of it is, like Matt said, they weren't exposed to other cultures as people who grew up here are. And I think that like the lack of information, and I almost want to say like the brainwashing, for lack of better term, right? But the idea that, oh, this is the best culture, this is the only way, religiously, like this is your way to salvation, is like so drilled into them. And even like I know when my parents were going to come to America, they're like, like the thought that their elders probably told them was like, don't become American, right? And it's like, America's this land of sin, like you will have a better life, you will have more opportunity, you will be more stable, you'll have more money, but don't lose your culture, because that's when you become a bad person. And I think it's like that's all they ever knew. So like questioning it, especially later on in life, like fundamentally changes them,
Hmm.
and that's scary.
That's got to be so hard, and well, especially because they're coming at it from like a different stage in life. Like we're born and raised into it, so like we're taught to constantly question things. But like to
Yeah,
have everything set as this is the way things are, and like I think it's interesting. Like brainwashing isn't the best word to use, but it kind of makes sense. But it's
yeah,
also not even like their choice, right? The
right.
nature of the time was they didn't have that much information that we get either. Like
Yeah,
you're literally just hearing one source of truth or one
exactly.
source,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and then like what else can you believe in? Like you're in
Mhm.
the cave, that's all you have, and
And
then
it's
like to
like,
step out. Oh,
yeah, yeah, you're in the cave. That's a really good allegory. Um, yeah, it's so true. And I think like the other thing I was thinking of is I feel like our mentality as people born in another culture, maybe it's more of an American mentality. I don't know. It's like a growth mentality, right? Like I feel like I go through my phases of life and I analyze like, did I grow? Like when was the last time I like really changed in my personality or in my habits and stuff like that? And I feel like I'm constantly asking myself this question, right? And I don't know if like you guys can like relate to that. But I don't know that I feel like my counterparts in India, like my cousins in India, or like my parents or uncles and aunts, really like have that sort of mentality versus this is the right way to do things, this is the proper way to do things, this is what we're gonna do, right? This is the job that we have, and like that's all we're gonna focus on, right? Like my dad's never changed his job in his life. Like once he like got his job in Orlando, like the last 25 plus years, he's been there. And I've changed jobs like 5 times, 4 times the last like 5 years, you know?
yeah, I think it is interesting. Like that it's crazy because we're just so more open to change. But I also think I don't think everyone in our generation is like that, Ashish, where we're always questioning and wanting to grow and improve. I think
Yeah.
there's also that a factor of who you are as a person, and I think I'm the exact same way. Like I'm constantly looking at like I love the way you put it. Like when was the last time I changed, and was it for the better? Like
Yeah.
that kind of constant questioning. I think it isn't specific to the culture. I think it's specific to more of you
The
and
person,
us.
the
Like
individual.
yeah, the person. That would be my argument because I think I have friends that I can think of or people I know that don't really question it, and they're like perfectly cool with how things are going, and I could see them doing the same thing for 20 years as well. Um, but I think the nature of it is different as well because I think going back to what you mentioned is like our parents came here to survive, so their whole goal was safety, not
Yeah.
to improve. It was like, did we make it, and was it better than where we were before? Yes.
If
Okay.
yes, true. Just don't
yeah,
change.
Yeah,
yeah. Like we peaked.
it,
We've hit
Loop,
it.
loop.
There's nothing more. Yeah.
it, it's like you said, like where they came here to survive, right? Where I'm gonna take the least risk. I'm gonna go the route that I know will work and that will bring me, success. That will allow me to provide for, my future. And I guess for us, since we live at the time where our parents sacrificed that for us, so now we have the liberty to, question these things. We're able to easily change and, you know, take these risks because they took the risk and they made the sacrifice to, make sure that we had the opportunity, right?
Yeah.
So this kind of makes me think about this other question that I think kind of ties into all of our cultures is this idea of like just talking about things. And I think it's really interesting because I think all of us, like the three of us, have really well awareness of our culture and like how things work in all of our respective countries or like backgrounds. Um, but basically my question is not on culture so much, but specifically on our parents. Is like how well do you guys feel like you know your parents?
Not well.
Right? It's kind of crazy. Like what about you? Because I feel like I'm the same. I feel like I don't
Um,
really know my parents.
it was
Like
funny.
I know their tendencies, but do I know them? I don't know.
I know. I guess in a more general sense, this kind of came about for like just like mix different things for me, where I used to work with one of my aunts. She basically hooked me up with like a job over like a summer one time, and like we would just carpool together. So like when we'd get off of work, it was basically like almost like an entire family plus me, and we just all like carpool back and we just talk about like the day and stuff like this. And then since we're all family, my aunt started talking about it with my mom and stuff, and my aunt brought it up to me, and she was like, yeah, your mom said like she's kind of jealous that like you talk about like your day and like things that you're going through, and you don't talk about it with her. And because that was brought up to me, I started to like more go out of my way to kind of connect with my mom and talk with her and stuff like that. But beforehand, like it never really like occurred to me to like that like I guess specifically my mom was interested in like, you know, my day-to-day ongoings, even though they're like, I mean, to be fair, it's like complete nonsense, right? It's not like
also, like,
important stuff.
You'd expect your mom or your like parents to initiate that conversation when you're younger, right? Like
somewhat, yeah.
Like I feel like it's like that cultural thing of like, as an Indian parent, I need to just make sure my kid is focusing on grades and like doing well in like sports, studies, diploma, doctor. Like that's the track. I can't be his friend.
It's like if they stray from that, then we gotta talk.
Yeah, and that's not going to be a fun talk either. Like, you know, it's like I feel like that's all I really ever talked about with my parents growing up was just like, oh, how'd you do in school? Great. Okay. Why'd you get a B? Like, you know, it was never, okay, you like this thing, let's do more of it, right? Or it wasn't, yeah, this is like what I did today or like what my day was like. And I feel like it's harder to do that later on in life. Once you've like established that as like your relationship with your parents. I like it's interesting. I have an anecdote of like I went to this like after party in Minneapolis. It was like after a dance competition. I'm into like Bollywood dance competition, so there's like an after party, and it's like a bunch of brown like college kids, and we're in like a club. There's like full on like, you know, grinding, like dancing, like people making out, like it's like the shebang of a club, right? Like the last place you want to see like your parents. And like I got in and I went to go like meet with like two of my friends who are girls, and so like went up to them and they're like, hey, this is our mom. Like in the middle of the club, it's like their mom who's just like hanging out with the two of them, like their sisters, like hanging out with the two of them and like their friends, and like everyone's like super cool with it. And I was just like, I wouldn't want to be caught dead with my mom or my dad near like this event, right? It's like it was like the most foreign concept, and I was like, I still think about it. I was like, that's like an amazing relationship to have with your kids. To be like, first off, like you're cool enough to be around the friends, right? Like, yeah. But also you're comfortable enough to like drink and like show this world. It's a very real world. Like, you know, like you're kind of being ignorant if you don't think like this stuff is going on or like whatever, right? But to show that to your parents and just like them being able to be like, look, like you do you make your mistakes, just be safe. Like we support you no matter what you do. You're gonna make mistakes because you're a kid, but like we're here for you. And like to be that open with your parents, I was like, I was jealous. I was like, damn, like that's awesome. Like I don't have that level of like comfort or that level of like closeness with my parents to like ever want to be in that situation, but I wish I did.
But I think it all comes down to like making that first step. Like someone has to, like whether like it's just out of the blue or like even like what Cody was saying that like before he ended up going to the Philippines, like visiting the Philippines, like he didn't really know his mom that much, but because like, you know, his mom's bringing him to her home, she ended up like opening a lot about like, you know, her background, her story, her life, so that kind of created like a better connection with them, where sometimes it is circumstantial, like where, you know, for Cody, you know, I'm bringing you home, so let me tell you about my home, We're not just like visiting some random place. Like these places, these small places that we go to has significance to me, and this is why. Or like stuff like me where it's just like, you know, luckily someone brought it up to me and I was just like, hey, like let me talk to my mom. Let me tell her about like crazy stuff I've been going through. Let me tell her about like the drama I have with like dating girls on like apps and shit like that. Where it's just like, it's like stupid stuff, right? But like it means so much to be able to talk and like build that bond. And like I talked to her about like, you know, how was your day, how was work, and like hearing the nuances of just like her stress at work and like all the crazy stuff that she has to do with like with her employees and stuff like that. And it feels, it's nice. It's a really nice feeling. Or like I could say this with Matt, like even with our mom, our friends know Jeanette, right? Like maybe it's our fault for like throwing parties at the house, and like they were like, we're gonna stay home, and I was like, are you sure you want to stay home for this? Because things are gonna get wild. And like I remember the first time like we threw a party here at the house, and the next morning I saw a picture of my mom with like a bunch of my friends, and she's the one holding a bottle about to like drink it. I was like, when did this happen? We're just like it's like I feel lucky to have like a mom that's just like cool like that. And
Dude,
I kind of regret not doing that
early. She made me chives and rice, and then I told Matt that I loved it, and then like she like because that was over at your house, and then like she made it for me and like brought me chives right after that. She's like super cool, so shout out to her. Like that is like one of my favorite like high school memories. I was like, whoa, this is cool, Mom. You should do this too. Like if anyone ever compliments your cooking, like we'll give it to them. Like it's like it was so cool, you know. And it was like such a foreign food for me. Like it wasn't like something that I could like get. And then I like my mom. I think talked to your mom. Like got the recipe for that too. But yeah. So shout out to your mom for sure.
For some reason, and it's like even for me, it's such a distinct memory of like my mom just doing something that I'm never gonna forget that memory, and it's such a small like concept of kindness, and also like sharing our culture with you, which is really cool. And it's kind of cool how like it spreads just from having like generosity or like a kind heart. And I mean, I'm a sucker for my mom. She's like definitely one of the best.
Yeah. No,
not to throw our dad under the bus. Like he's a cool guy, but like no, but like I like our relation with like our mom just it feels more present. Where
I think it's. Do you think it's easier as a guy to have a relationship with your mom?
Yeah, I think with what was I gonna say with like a daughter. I think daughters have a better like daughter-father relationship than daughter-mother. So with sons, it's like the same thing where it's easier to have like a son-mother relationship than a son-father. Where like I guess I feel with our upbringing, for me, my dad was always like he was like the strong rock, the strict father. Like unfortunately, he had to play the bad guy, right? Where it's just like, all right, we know good things are happening if mom's talking to us, but if dad has to talk to us, man, we fucked up.
We're in trouble.
We're in trouble, right? So like I guess like even now like it sounds stupid, but like since we are conditioned like as kids to like almost not have like the best relationship with like our dad. At least that's how I feel. I don't know about you, Matt, but like it's sometimes it's weird to like talk to my dad or be open with my dad. And there are times where I'll invite him to like have a drink with me when I'm just like casually drinking and stuff, or like when we're at family gatherings and stuff, and we kind of chill. But even then, it's like we don't really talk.
But so it's an interesting thing because I get what you're saying, Mark, but I also think historically or culturally, I think at least Filipino dads are known to be reserved, are known to not talk a lot, not like have emotions, not to like, you know, I don't know anyone that's Filipino that like has that relationship with their dad where they're like best friends. Even like the girls that I know that are Filipino don't have that like relationship. And I don't know if it's as much of a culture. I would argue that it's more of a cultural thing than like a gender thing. And I don't know, is that the same?
So you're saying like dads in Filipino culture don't have a relationship with either the son or the daughter.
From my experience, at least all the ones I know.
Right. I think that like in general that's the same for Indian dads minus the daughter father relationship. I do think that like daughters are generally like a dad is more like protective and like caring for a daughter right? That it's like, oh, like for a son, it's
compared
like
to a son, yeah.
what?
Then compared to the son.
Yeah, then compared to a son, like I think for a daughter, it's like, oh, I need to protect and care this person and like love them and it to be able to do that. But for a son, it's like I have to breed them to be like an award winner, right? And that's discipline only, and it's tough love, which means like no caring, no protection, no love, right? It's like I
We
need
ain't
to
here for
be
the
gentle
feels.
with a girl, and I need to be tough with a boy. So I think that's where it comes from. But like that idea of being like reserved, like Indian parent and a dad, I think is more common. It's interesting. I think like part of it, I mean, like it's so cold. It's like in Indian culture, like showing your weaknesses or flaws or like sins to a child is like super taboo. So like growing up, like me and my brother wouldn't let my parents drink because we were like, oh, this is bad. And like they were never open about it, right? So then like they started like hiding their alcohol. Like if people were coming over and they wanted to drink, like they'd wait till we're in bed. As if we woke up and we caught them, we'd be pissed, right? But they never had that conversation with us. And for them, it was like, okay, we're the parents. We just have to set a good example. And like alcohol's terrible. But I also know like I have my cousins in India, and they're maybe like 8 to 10 years apart. So there's like a generational gap. Both of them drink. Both of them know they drink. Okay, that the other drinks, but they will never drink in front of each other because the older brother is like, I have to set a good example for the younger one. The younger one's like, out of respect, I can't drink in front of my older brother. And it's like us as a family, like especially like an American Indian going to India, we're like, guys, like we drink in front of each other now. It's cool. Like we get it. Everyone drinks. We have to be responsible. You two both know, like we're telling you, but we know you both know that you guys drink. We're all here together. Let's do it. And they would not. They couldn't. They're like, nope. Culturally, like they're just like, we can't. We can't destroy our culture here. So, I think that concept of like, I need to be this icon or this ideal in front of my kids or in front of like younger people, like, is so like embedded into like older generations that it's so hard to have like these conversations of like, oh, like it's like the taboo subjects of things you don't even want to talk about. Did you guys have a puberty conversation with your parents?
No, never.
I didn't either.
I don't
But
think
that's
so.
like a thing you do in America.
The closest thing that I've had to talk about was, since my mom works at a women's clinic,
Condoms?
was just the talk about condoms, where like it was just kind of weird, where it's just like our parents knew that like we were talking to girls, we had girlfriends, and like she would just come in with like a paper bag and be like, here, have this, and it's just like, what is this, like a lunch, a sandwich? You open up and you're like, it's just a shit ton of condoms. You're like, what? And then she's like, just be safe and lift. It's like,
Just like,
okay.
It's like, oh.
yeah.
My conversation was, I'm pretty sure Cody's parents were at the table and Anton's parents were at the table and our parents were at like the dinner table. We were probably playing video games in my room. And then I walked out. They like called us to come out, or they called me to come out, and they like hand me a lollipop, or it looks like a freaking lollipop, but it's like a condom with a stick like poking out of it, so it looks like a lollipop. And that's everything sex that we talked about until I started getting brown bags. But that was like the first condom I ever saw, and that was like the gist of it all.
That was it.
But yeah, no, never ever have they talked about that.
It's so funny. I did try to bring up like the idea of having a girlfriend in college, and it's funny. The first time I brought up having a crush was like 6th or 7th grade, and my dad and my younger brother just teased the heck out of me. So like, okay, we're never talking about girls. And then I was dating this girl in college, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be the good kid. I'm not gonna hide this. I'm gonna tell my parents. So I told my parents, and next thing I know, like one of my best friends, like, dude, your mom was so worried. She didn't know what it meant that you had a girlfriend. She was like worried that you were gonna marry her soon. And like, what? And I'm a freshman in college, guys. So she like calls up our family friend and she's like, what does this mean? Like, are they gonna get married? Like, she's South Indian, I'm North Indian. Like, what? Like, this might not even work. We don't know what her family's like. And it's like,
Dang.
2 weeks later, we broke up. So not only did I had to find that, I was like, okay, maybe I wait till I'm like more sure about a girl, so like I don't throw my mom under like that stress and pressure all over again. But I was like, okay, this isn't like, it doesn't work if like I tell you something and you don't ask the questions to me and you just get worried and you go like ask the world, you know? Because it's like I can't have this conversation with you guys.
Yeah, but I'll talk to everyone else about it. I'll go like all the way around the world, but I can't do it. I can't. Like, yeah, well, I feel like our parents never were great at confronting the problem, but they were good at talking about it with everyone else in the world.
But the people that mattered.
Yeah.
It's funny because I definitely see bits of that in me where it's like you wanna say the right words, you wanna say the right things, right? Especially to like your kids and stuff. But like I do that when like I'm like, man, what do I do in this situation? What do I say to like this questionable text that I got from this girl? And I'll talk to like all my friends and be like, all right, what do you guys think? Let me give you the backstory. Let me do all this stuff before like, all right, let me just be upfront and like most times at the end I'm just like, all right, the best answer is just be upfront and just ask, like, be honest and stuff like that. But like I'll still like look for backup. I'll look for support. I'll be like, oh, what do I do for this? What do I do for this?
Yeah.
But I guess do you guys think it's too late for us to like build that relationship with our parents? Because like, I mean, to be fair, like, you know, hopefully they're all still around. But
to me, it's exactly what we're talking about, right? It's like the kind of thing where like we know we have to change and we know we should. It's just, are we going to do it, or are we going to stick to what we've always done? And it's kind of crazy. Like it all connects to me in that way. Is like, if not, then I'm just as bad as what we talked about. Is like, I can't explain why I wouldn't do it, right?
Mhm.
If one day I have kids and they said, hey, how come you never got to know your mom and dad better? I would be like, why don't you know me better? Like, I would deflect. I wouldn't be able to answer them straight up. And I like, to me, like, I can't, I wouldn't want to be able to do that. So I feel like I do want to do it more.
Yeah.
But I also feel like living away from them helps a ton. For me, it makes like every interaction with mom and pop more meaningful because I don't see them every single day.
Mhm.
So it feels like an opportunity to catch up with them. But that's my perspective of it.
Yeah, I have a very weird perspective. It's a little personal, so I don't want to go too much into it. But I feel like a lot of things that so I like deeper critical like thinking conversations, right? So I have a hard time when I like call my mom and there's like nothing really going on in my life, right? Like nothing's changed, no like updates. And the conversation is about like, hey, what did you eat? Oh, you ate this? Like, how did you make it? And I'm like, Mom, like this is an Indian dish. Like you told me how to make it. Like, oh, where'd you get the ingredients from? I'm like, Mom, there's a grocery store. Like, I just walked. It's like, oh, you walked. How's the weather? I'm just like, oh, this is like it, like those sort of conversations, like they're just so hard for me to have because I'm like, I would rather divert my attention to something like working on or like whatever I'm doing in the moment. Lately we've had a lot of like issues with like my dad's health and stuff. And this is where I think it, like when you say like, is it too late to have that relationship? I think, and like going into the Twitter reply that I gave you about like, what do you want to change about our culture? It's this idea of ageism is like my reply that I gave to it. And I think it's like twofold, right? We talked about our parents being stubborn, right? They're so rooted in their culture and their ways because that's like all they know. A lot of like my dad's health stuff is things that he needs to change about himself. And if I confront him about it and like I try to have a very open and honest conversation, he's defensive and deflective, right? And he's like, you're young, you haven't experienced the world, you don't tell me what to do. You don't tell me how to change my life or live my life because you haven't even lived your life, right? And it's like, I feel like because of how the culture has like breeded these people, like our parents and stuff, like as like breeded is probably the wrong word, but like how it's like impacted them and how they've like grown into it, it makes it harder to have an open relationship later on in life, specifically when it matters the most. Like our parents are not getting younger, they're getting older, they're going to have health issues. A lot of those health issues are going to be because of things that our culture is like, dude, this is a bad idea. Like, we put ghee in everything, and guess it's better than butter, but like, you throw oils and everything, like, of course every Indian is going to have a cholesterol problem, right? But like, ghee is the best thing. Like, my mom will, like, like, it just like, there are certain things, like the way we eat our food, it's like, it's bread and rice. Both of those are carbs, right? And it's like, if you don't have that, like, you're not eating a meal. And it's like, hey, but this is not that healthy. Like,
yes.
like, my Subway sandwich has just as many carbs as this. Like, it's so
like, but it's home cooked. It's home cooked, so it's not.
So it's better.
It's not unhealthy.
No, it's the same thing. You're probably eating double the bread or the rice at home.
Yeah. Oh man, that's why I love that meme that's like been trending recently. It's like, like, your mom's like, we have this at home, and then you see what you have at home, and it's like completely whack.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so relatable. But yeah, like, I don't think it's like for lack of trying, right? For at least in my personal experience, like, it's a two-way street, and I think that like this idea of like that stubbornness, ageism, and like our culture is the best culture, don't try to change it or change me, is really what's like the barrier between me having a better relationship with, like, specifically my dad. I think my mom is more open to listening to me and understanding, and my dad is always challenged by my ideas, specifically if it's like related to me telling him how to change his life to be healthy.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that the culture is a barrier to that relationship. Is it too late for trying? Absolutely not. But is it too late for a better relationship? I don't know. It hasn't worked out in my experience yet.
Okay.
I see. It's like a really interesting problem because it's family, it's like emotional, and it's like serious. It's like these things that it's taboo to us, even though we're in an age where like everything is like we can figure out everything. But these are like the things that, like, if we knew how to solve them, we would have already solved it. And I'm sure there is a way to do it. It's just figuring out how to fit it into our own specific scenario. It becomes really hard.
Yeah, but I think it gets harder with age. Is I guess my point that I'm making. Like,
agreed.
Is it too late? I think that there is a point where it's like, you're not going to be able to change someone's mindset. And I think like I've seen this so much politically, like after this last election with like uncles and like cousins and stuff, that I'm like, okay, like, you were fundamentally supporting something that's like wrong on a humane level, right? But because you're so rooted in your like hatred against another culture, right, or against another like ethnic group, like, you think you're right, and I can't change your mind because of like this ageism cultural like superpower you have,
like,
or whatever.
Like I said, it's like, no, you don't talk to me like that. I'm older than you. You gotta respect me. So,
yeah.
So you
I've gotten into so many fights with my family, and that's it. Like, it's like, I can beat you on every point, but the second that I raise my voice even a little bit, it's like, you're disrespectful. You don't know what you're talking about. Just shut up and like go away.
And
I'm gonna tell your parents, and you're gonna be grounded for a week.
And you can't win. It's impossible.
It's impossible to win. It's like,
literally
dude,
impossible.
Like, it's like, and it's at this point, it's like, I have all the same access to information as you do. Like, it's not like you have all these books and you've read so much, and like I could never come to that level. It's like, look, this is a very modern topic. I am at the same level playing field.
Yeah.
Your age and your experience doesn't help you in this, right?
Yeah.
Like,
They're
this
not
is
like
a
an
new bill that was
expert.
passed a month ago.
Yeah.
How does your experience help you with this? Like, and it's just like, no, you're younger. You don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And that's got to be one of the most frustrating things about that. That's like one thing that I think we could change about at least our culture is like, I get the respect your elders thing, but you do it to like a certain degree. Like, it can't be absolute. I get the idea that you should respect them, but you should still be able to question them. And I think that's like really respect.
Yeah. I mean, respect can't, like, it's like, it's the same, you earn respect, right? They want your respect, but they don't work to earn it, right? Like, if they're going to be disrespectful or dismissive, which is just another form of disrespect in my opinion, right? Like, if they're going to be dismissive and they're not going to listen to you, I don't need to respect you, right? Like, that, I think that's what hurts them the most, is like, they've had the respect, like, they've had to respect their elders, right? without being able to question them.
And then it's
And
changing.
now it's like, who the heck are you? Like, I would have been in so much trouble and I never did this. And it's like, yeah, dude, like, you should have maybe tried. Like, I don't know. Like, what to say? Like, did you have a point where you're like, yo, uncle, like, you're racist AF? Like, maybe stop that. Like, why didn't you say something, right? But, yeah, I think that's, like, part of the ego problem is, like, they're like, we would never have done this. Like, this level of disrespect we would have never done. Like, it was just unheard of. And it, like, shocks them that, like, someone's questioning them now that they're at that level. You know?
Yeah. But I also think it goes back to the idea of information, right? Because back then I would think that the generation before us, like our uncles and parents, they probably didn't even know to question these things because the
Yeah.
people older than them were what they heard of. Like that was their only source of information for the most part.
Yeah. And I mean, like, especially in our, like, Asian countries, like, they were surrounded by people with the same ideas as well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, like, forget lack of information. It's just an echo box.
Yeah, yeah. Everyone thinks the
everyone's
same
on the
way,
same
like
page.
relatively. Yeah.
Yeah. So, just you don't even need to question it.
I think that's like what's gonna make the next generation really interesting is like when we're parents, is like, are we gonna be able to hear our kids out and change our opinions when they bring something up
I hope
that
so.
is
I really
challenging?
hope so.
Mhm.
Right. I hope that, like, again, that growth mentality we talked about earlier. All right, am I a better person than I was before? I hope that never changes. I think that's, like, that is critical to being a better human being, or, like, the best human being you can be.
Mhm.
I have a hypothetical question. In the next, let's say, just argue, like, arbitrarily, 500 to 1,000 years, do you think culture will unify into one?
500 to 1,000 years,
Yeah.
like in that range.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that.
So we're assuming that the human race still exists, right?
Yeah, like, I mean, if
Or
global
if it doesn't
We
exist,
haven't-
it's one
Right.
We
culture,
haven't
right?
destroyed the
Monkeys.
earth and
Yeah.
the Unga Bungas.
I would argue yes.
I guess
I think like
maybe if we don't put a time period, is the human population going to a universal culture?
yeah.
I would think so, because like even with like our generation, where we're more open to, I feel like most of us are more open to other ideas. Like this is just kind of spread where being closed-minded just doesn't work in this day and age, right? Whether it's about your culture, whether it's your job, whether it's your life on the line, kind of thing, right? You have to be open to trying new things, making changes. There are advances in efficiency for jobs. There's advances in medical technology. Like if you want to live, you got to be willing to like take that chance for the change, right?
Adapt or
so
die.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I think at some point it will kind of like converge like all into one. Maybe not like it's gonna be like, oh, there's gonna be one super culture that unifies all of us. But I think like it's gonna be, things are gonna get closer and closer to just merging, and like people are gonna be grabbing. It's gonna be more. People are gonna be more open to like grab bits and pieces of like other cultures, and slowly like you won't be able. It's gonna be harder and harder to discern one culture from another one.
Yeah. To me, it goes back to like the idea of information. Like already we have access to so much information, but not everyone has that access, and not everyone's using it. Like eventually, that playing field is not only gonna like level out, but it's gonna keep growing, right? Like we're gonna, and us as humans, I think, are also getting better at processing the information we're given. I think eventually it gets to a point where yeah, we are like all on the same. I think it's like almost inevitable. I think there are things that could stop it, and I think it's people that don't change and people that don't like aren't open-minded. Things
Which
like
there's a lot of-
anti-vaxxers, flat earthers, like those concepts to me blow my mind. It's like we're trying to take a step back. Like we've already answered this question. Why are we still questioning if 1 + 1
We
equals
answered this
2?
hundreds of years ago.
Yeah, like I don't those are the things that worry me. Is like if those people win, then yes, we
And they're
move
the
in
ones
the
that are
other
the future.
direction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think like
that's a risk.
technology, right? Like you mentioned access to information, but like I don't know. Is some point like is the world going to be data driven? right? Like completely, where it's like, oh yeah, statistically, this is the right answer for what you should do. Like statistically, you have less germs in your house if you take your shoes off. Everyone should do it. You know, like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's like, washing your hands kind of makes sense. Yeah, everyone should just do it. It's
Yeah,
it's the same concept, but everything.
yeah. But I wonder about that. I'm like, I think culture is interesting because it's unique, but is it a better world if we just take the best of everything and make that one? You know?
hmm I think. Do you guys think there's gonna? I mean, I guess this is similar, but like something I think about is there one day gonna be like a universal language?
Is English
Yeah,
not it?
English, bruh.
Well, like where literally everyone speaks English. Like that's not really a thing, but like, do you guys think that it will happen?
I think it is going to be English. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, people say Mandarin, right? Like, because there's so many Chinese
Population.
people
Mhm.
that speak it. Like, it's a population thing. It's like that's the most spoken language, and that's what you should learn. Love. I just saw that, Cody.
I know,
Oh, brilliant.
fuck, I'm weak. That
Um, I do. I think it's going to be. I think it's kind of already English, but I see what you're saying. Like every person in the world knows this language.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, I still think it's English, but I think it's going to happen when everyone has access to the same technology and resources. You know,
Yeah.
Where like everyone's on the same level
Like
playing field.
education and all
because
that.
there's still people. There's so many people without like a smartphone, even like forget a computer, like a smartphone or even like a phone. Like there are villages in India where they're like,
Without water.
Yeah.
yeah, well, yeah.
Think about like basic like human necessities, right?
Right.
Like consistent food, water
Yeah.
supply,
So
stuff like that.
once we change that, I think the way that the internet's set up is English is still the primary language on most websites and everything, right? So
hmm Well, that's cool. Well, I know we're a bit over, and I know this. We kind of delved into some hypotheticals, but I feel like we could close out with like one thing for each of us to answer, which would be cool. Is like if you guys could pass on one thing to like the next generation about your culture, like what would it be?
that's an interesting one. I'm
Like-
gonna let
like-
one of you guys go first. I need to think about this one.
Okay, so I would think about this, because I know this kind of resonates with me. Like, I guess this was kind of like the big thing. If I had to pick like one thing that I really want to pass on, one thing that I love about Filipino culture is, like when you invite guests over, you try to make them feel the best you can at home. You try to welcome them. You provide like a feast. A big thing is just like food for us, right? When you come into like someone's house that you don't know, you make sure you provide enough food. Make sure it's delicious. To be fair, all Filipino cuisine is delicious, so it's hard to mess that up. But like just the idea of just making, when you invite a guest over to your house, making sure that they feel at home the best as possible, whether that's through the comfort food, the conversations, the people that are around them, even just the house itself. Like there are times where like my mom, I consider her a neat freak. Maybe that is part of her, but that's kind of rubbed off on me where if I'm going to invite someone over, I want to make sure, I want to try to impress them, right? I don't want them to nitpick and be like, oh, this is kind of dirty, this makes me feel weird. But I think just the idea of making sure people feel welcome, feel comfortable when you invite them over. So I think that's something that I want to make sure that I pass on.
That's a good one. Indians do a lot of similar stuff with like just the guest is God, right? So you treat them like a host. So I won't take that one.
Sorry if I stole it.
I'm gonna take
Thank God I
a
went first.
Hindu approach on this one. I'll take a Hindu approach on this one. There's like in Hinduism, there's like three paths to gain liberation, right? One is the path of action, which is like you do your duty, you do your work, like whatever you do it to the best of your ability. And if you focus on that your whole life, you'll gain liberation. Another one is the path of devotion, which is like you sacrifice everything that you have and just devote your life to God. right? You go into a forest, leave everything behind, and whatever. Um, the third is a path of knowledge, which is like you read up on the world as much as you can, and you use that knowledge to better yourself. And like ultimately, what they say is you'll fall into one of those paths. And the thing about like those paths is like you could be doing action for so long, and you realize that like your life should be a life of service, and so your actions are like in tune with devotion. And so it's not like one of these paths will go. It's like those paths are kind of like branching and can like lead into another. And I think that's like the biggest thing that I would want to give into my kids, right? Like it doesn't matter which path you choose, right? And it doesn't matter if you switch paths, but you should believe in the way that you're going so much and focus all your energy into that, right? Yeah. And like if you can learn that, like for example, I'm in film and media. Like I work for a company called Click Play Film. I work on video. I'm doing TikTok videos in my free time, like social media marketing. Like that is my life, and I love it, right? And I think I find so much purpose and like passion and fun in doing that. And I think like that's like the path of action for me, right? And I feel like that's the right way. And I think that like this idea of purpose and like that fun and that fulfillment that I get from it comes from like this mindset a little bit. And so if I could teach that to my kids, that like don't settle for anything, figure out your path, go that way, and you'll be happy.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for the TikTok plug, Cody.
He's on point, man.
Check him out. Damn, that's like a really cool one. Like that's like I love the concept of like focus on what you're doing in that moment and like put your all into it. And it's okay if you change that. But whatever you are doing, focus all on that. That's like so that's a sick answer.
I think if I can teach that to my kids, they will be like that's what I believe in. Like I'm never worried like where I am in life. Like I know if I'm doing whatever I'm doing to the fullest of my ability, like success will come, right? Like I will be fine, right? It doesn't matter if I'm making money now or if it comes in like 10 years. If I'm happy now and that comes in 10 years, fine. You know?
Yeah.
The happiness.
Like if you were in a forest right now with like nothing but your underwear, like you would be happy probably. That's like
and that's cool. Okay, right? Like I found purpose and like that matters a lot more. And if I'm in a forest and I'm praying every day and I'm doing that to the best of my ability, like I'm still growing, right? Like that's like still like it's like I'm doing that to the best and like I'll keep learning that and keep like devoting myself to that and keep getting better, you know?
Damn, that's cool. I don't have an answer as deep as that. But I will say, but I feel like I should answer it as well. I don't want to just.
But I think that's important though, right? Like passing on something, like it doesn't have to be like super deep and meaningful. It could be something simple, like you said, taking off your shoes. That could be 99% healthier to do in most homes.
Nah,
in most homes.
In most homes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a good point. Not all homes.
Not all homes have their shoes on.
You may want to put like 3 socks on, my friend.
Like if you're living in a hut and the floor is literally dirt, you should probably keep your shoes on.
You may want to keep them on.
I think one thing that I really like about Filipino culture is like this idea of celebration and like having a good time. I think it's like something that's really stuck with me and like helped me be who I am. Is like I'm a super major optimist. Like I try to see like good in everything. I try to like always be enjoying myself and having fun and like seeing something positive in everything. And I think that's like for me one of the coolest things about Filipino culture is like almost everything we're doing there has to be some sort of fun involved in it. And I love that. Like whether it's a party, whether it's a housewarming, whether it's like we'll find any reason to celebrate and we'll make it into a celebration. I love that. Like even like funerals become a thing where you're almost like you're praying and you're solemn, but you will celebrate.
There's a party. There's like a get together.
There's a party.
Like
everyone has food. Like and it's like we do like 40 days of prayer and then we party, and it's like I love that because I think, I mean, it's part of who I've become. It's like exactly. It's like you found good in anything and you found a way to be happy, and I think that's super important because. Like for me, it's like this perspective you can have is like you can find good in everything if you're looking for it, and I love that.
I think it's like the opposite of where our world's going. It's like we're criticizing everything. We're like looking for the bad, right? But not too hard. It's like so much easier to look for the bad than to like look for the
focus on
good.
the good.
But anyways, this has been an absolute blast, Ashish. Thank you for being part of this podcast and coming on. Like, it's really been cool, and it's really been cool. Like, it's cool saying how our cultures have so much similarities, how much like
Yeah.
we still undergo. And I think, you know, for me personally, I think what's really cool is like even after 11 years, like we can still sit down and talk about cool stuff. And like
Yeah.
we're in completely different pathways, but we still can like come together. And to me, that's like amazing. I think it's like a really cool testament, and I really appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Yeah, no, it's been a pleasure to be here. I've had a lot of fun, and it's cool. Like we come from different cultures, but there's still so many like things
many
that
things that
unify
line up.
us. You know, so I love it. I'm glad to be here, guys.
Mark, I will let you do your.
The usual closer, my 50-minute closer. So get ready, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna be here for a while. But honestly, thank you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Whether you're watching it live here on YouTube on our Almost Awesome Pros page, or you're watching it at your leisure, I hope that it has enlightened you a little bit to really kind of think about the nuances of your culture and almost like question like, why are we doing things? What stuff do you want to keep? And I think what's important too is, what do you want to pass on? Like, you don't want to pass on like all these negative mindsets of being hard-headed and being closed-minded. But like, it's our job as, you know, the future of whether it's your family, your culture, your race, to think about what do you want to pass on to the next generation. And it's definitely something that I think it's not something that would come across like in an everyday, like out of the blue kind of thought. Sometimes, like, because of something as beautiful as a podcast like this, we get a chance to address this and talk about it. So hopefully that kind of inspires a little bit of a thought into your minds. So I hope that you all as the audience enjoyed it so much. But if you haven't already, if you're joining us for the first time, don't forget to go ahead, like our video, subscribe to our channel so you always know when we go live. And if you didn't know, we go live every Monday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, here on our YouTube channel. That's Almost Awesome Pros. You can also follow us on Twitter. Or sorry, we don't have a Twitter. I think I have one. It's kind of lost in the abyss, so it may not exist anymore. But we do have an Instagram. You can follow us at almostawesome_IG. And we also have a Facebook page where I'm trying to work on it. I'll admit I'm not doing the best, but I'll usually post on there as well as to you know, who our next guest is going to be, and when we're going to go live, in case you guys don't remember. But the safest way is to go ahead, subscribe to us on YouTube. Doesn't cost you anything. Click the bell so you get notified whenever our videos go up. But I think that one last thing. Me and Matt, we are always looking for help. We're always looking for better ways to produce a better product, produce the best podcast that we can to you guys. So we are looking for any sort of help we can get, whether that's different topic ideas, whether that's, you know, moderating in chat like Cody's been doing, and he's been doing like a amazing job. So I thank him on that. Doing like graphic design stuff. So if you guys didn't see the graphic that we posted up on the Almost Awesome page was made by Ashish. And it's definitely a game changer, and I definitely appreciate it. And just doing whatever you can to help us make this the best thing that we can. Any sort of help would be appreciated. So if you are interested at all, you can always hit me up. You can hit me up on Twitter. If you know me on Facebook, you know, just direct message me. Like I said, we're always looking for any sort of help. Like, any help that we can get, any way that we can make this better, I would greatly appreciate it. So, other than that, I believe that's about it.
Oh,
Right?
okay. So in our standard fashion, we let our guests close out the podcast. We give them 1 minute. I know we've been running a little bit late this one, but it's been such a blast. We couldn't help it. But before we go there, Ashish, we do ask all of our guests one thing, and it's, if you could see one other person on the podcast, whoever it may be, who do you think would be really cool to have on here?
I have a friend. His name's Neil. I think he just brings a lot. Like, if you guys are interested in technology and kind of where that's going, or business and whatnot, he's doing a tech MBA at NYU Stern right now. And he just, if that's like something you guys are interested in, if it's not just like a deep conversation about like life, um, but if you guys are looking for changing trends, I think he'd be a really fun guy to talk to. So I can give you the connects later. But his name's Neil. So
That'd be cool.
All right. I mean, who
All
isn't
right.
interested in technology? Come on.
We
Come
will.
on. We play video games.
Well-
Of course we're interested in technology. Come on.
And if you want to talk about video games, actually, a friend of mine, Dakota, who you guys have played League with, his name's Carnate on League. We've played together. He's really great. He used to do Twitch streaming, got a little popular there, and then like plays a lot of games, knows a lot of stuff. He's always a fun guy to talk to as well. So, 2 people.
Oh, cool.
That'd be cool. We'll
Yeah.
add him to the backlog, and it would be cool to
Yeah.
have him. All right. Well, Ashish, I will pull up my timer app. I will count you down. I'll just do
can
a
you
3,
keep it
2,
up
1,
too,
go.
so I can see.
Yeah, I'll do this. That's a good. Oh wait, I'll do like this. Okay. Are you good?
I'm good. We're gonna freestyle.
Alright.
Let's go.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, cool. We talked a lot of stuff about our culture, specifically started with things we wanted to change. We talked about kind of the stubbornness that our parents have, or our elders. And one of the things that I think is really important just as a person is to have a growth mindset and to be open-minded, right? We see that our parents are very closed-minded about things. We see our elders are very closed-minded. And it's difficult to have that conversation, which led to our next topic about talking with our parents. And it seems, at least in Asian cultures, it's very hard to have like a very close, like intimate relationship with your parents. We don't talk about a lot. A lot of stuff is taboo. There's a lot of kind of things that just like, hey, we need to be this like icon for our kids or this ideal, and like we won't talk about the things that really need to be talked about. And arguably, it's not too late to have that, to change that relationship, but it's definitely not too late to try. So with that being said, have a growth mindset, talk to your parents, have a great day, be open-minded, love everyone, because that's the universal language, and this is almost awesome.
All right, we out, everybody. We'll see you here next week. Bye.
Ashish Shams.